Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Pauper Premier League. Sorry we're running a little late tonight. I'm Alex Ullman. I'm here with Brian Koval. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for the conclusion of this league. Let's have a Pauper champion crowned tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Sorry we're running a little late. You might hear in the background my son's a little sick today. But we got some exciting action for you.
Oh, looks like Alex froze. All right, I'll solo this. What's up, everyone? So we have a best 2 out of 3 matches, and then the winner plays a best 3 out of 5 matches. So we could potentially have a lot of Magic played tonight, or we could have very little Magic played tonight. Here is the bracket. Last week, I was destroyed by Michael Bonda, and then he was defeated by Brian DeMars, who is playing against Chris VanMeter for the playoff to meet our first place after Swiss Adam Yurchik, who got to cut straight to the finals. And so the first match we're going to have is Brian versus Chris. And their deck A's, where they're starting, Brian is on not quite a zoo deck and not quite a burn deck. It's somewhere in between. It's a Burning-Tree Emissary mono red deck with lots of burn spells. There it is. And Chris is playing Elves. He is on mono green Elves. There are no distant melodies in this pile. So we got so here's my thoughts. I think that Elves is favored, but play draw is going to be huge. If Brian is on the play and can get a repeatable source of damage in play, like Lavarunner or Burning-Tree Emissary quickly, he can pick off the important Elves until his opponent dies. However, if Chris gets even anything going, he's just going to bury Brian. The card advantage, the life gain, all of that stuff will become insurmountable at some point. And Brian's really going to have to win this match first set, because the second set is Tron versus Burn. Chris is on Burn and Brian's on Tron. And like we saw in my match against Michael last week, Burn is the nightmare for Tron. Everything has to go right for Tron to have a chance, and just any normal Burn draw will just run over even a okay to positive Tron draw. But yeah, right now, the targeted removal spells in Brian's deck, we got Lightning Bolts, Chain Lightnings, Incinerates, 4 Searing Blaze. That's juicy. That's exactly what you want against Elves. Rift Bolt, not quite what you're looking for. A lot of the Elves, you don't have the luxury of giving them a turn to use. And then he's got 3 Electricaries in the board, which are the only relevant sideboard cards. And Chris, he has 1 Essence Warden and 3 Wellwisher, which is not the most robust life gain package that Elves is capable of. But it's non-zero. If a Wellwisher untaps, I think Chris is going to take over the game pretty quickly. And then Lys Alana Huntmaster is bigger than all the creatures in Brian's deck. Timberwatch Elf, if they get an untap, is going to be bigger than all the creatures in Brian's deck. So Brian has to thread the needle here, but it is winnable. And like I said, he's going to have to win it because his next matchup is not good. Yeah, it sounds like our match is getting ready to fire. Yeah, not yet. It'll be a minute. So if they go to the third match, they get to pick their decks. And I think that Burn is actually favored against both of Brian's decks. So Brian he's going to have to break serve and steal a bad matchup on at least one of these 3 matches if he's going to take this. I don't think it's going to get better than what he's putting up right now. This red deck versus Elves. If he's if he wins that die roll, gets a little pressure going, he could definitely do it. Multiple Burning-Tree Emissaries, always the nut draw. You always want that. And based on what I've seen out of Brian DeMars with his last 2 rounds playing Stompy, he's pretty good at having multiple Burning-Tree Emissaries. Now, Lead the Stampede and Winding Way out of Elves can overwhelm the spot removal out of the red deck, but those cards take time and mana to cast, which every Lightning Bolt each spot removal spell out of the red deck is also effectively a Stone Rain, which denies mana. So taking a turn off to lead a Stampede, even though you're going to have a great following turn, could be too slow. You might just die. I'm not familiar with Brian's exact build of mono red here. I don't know what the goldfish is, if it's turn 4, turn 5 normally. It looks slower than Burn, but with bigger creatures. Unfortunately, Keldon Marauders doesn't line up very well against Elves. They only have to block it once, then it's dead. And Chris has another Wellwisher, 2 more Essence Wardens, and 3 Spidersilk Armor in the board to head off those 3 Electrickeries. Yeah, Chris is definitely favored after board. Brian's got an uphill climb. Chris has picked his decks very well tonight. And I think it's going to go well for Chris in the finals, too, if he gets there. He's made a lot of very smart metagaming choices tonight. All right. All right. Sounds like our match is about ready. All right. So Brian's got a 1-lander, which is rough because that hand goes off on 2 mana. If you could suspend Rift Bolt and then turn 2 Burning-Tree Emissary into Keldon Marauders, that would be able to pick off that Elvish Mystic if he cares about that. No, he's on the draw too, so. All right, so Brian's on the draw. He's kept his hand. He's going to need a second land, just like ASAP. Suspending Riftbolt is smart because that lets him decide what he wants to pick off next turn, and he can pick off 2 things even if he doesn't draw a second land. So that's going to make Chris pump the brakes on this Wellwisher, unless he just wants to bait the Lightning Bolt. Yeah, this is a good turn for Winding Way. Just casually draws 3, including a second Wellwisher. So now that Brian has seen the Wellwisher, he's going to have to be really judicious with that Chain Lightning in his hand. If that Wellwisher wasn't revealed, I think Brian would have just picked off both Mystics. But now he has to do something different. He has to play around that Wellwisher. Did not draw a second land. I think that might be the death knell here. I know that's a super early call, but it's rough. So now CVM can play Huntmaster and get a trigger right away and start to overload these 1-for-1 removal spells. And he has double Wellwisher for when the dust settles, when all the fire is burnt out, when the forest fire is extinguished, Wellwisher is going to show up. Chris is still going to be at high teens in life total. Right, so Brian went face with his last Rift Bolt. Let's see if he respects this Huntmaster. Oh, Brian is just going face. He thinks his path to victory is upstairs. Yeah, never hitting that second land. He was done. Well, that was short and sweet. All right, so I'm sure Electrickery is coming in. I don't think anything else is. I'm sure he's not afraid of Relic or Viridian Longbow in a way that he'd want to bring in Smash to Smithereens. That doesn't make sense. Molten Rain doesn't do anything against Elves. Pyroblast, literal blank. Flaring Pain. Elves does not have any fog effects. They have Wrap In Vigor, but that regenerates all their things. It doesn't prevent the damage to the things. So I suspect just 3 Electrickeries coming in. And then on Chris's side, Wellwisher, 2 Essence Warden, definitely coming in. And the Spidersilk Armor is the interesting one. I wish Kendra was connected so she could weigh in on this, but when I play Elves, a lot of the time Spidersilk Armor seems like I have to cut important cards to my strategy to fit it in. And then it's like, it only does anything if they draw Electrickery, and even sometimes Electrickery, it's better if you just have another thing in play. Like, I would definitely bring in Wrap In Vigor and all of the gain life things. But I'm sure he's bringing in Spidersilk Armor, especially seeing the deck list. He knows that Brian has 3 Electrickeries, which is more than normal. All right, we got a no-lander versus a one-lander. Chris is definitely throwing it back. Let's see if Brian has learned anything from the last round. Once again, his hand just goes off with a second land, and he can play on 1 for a while. It's tempting. All right, Brian took a mulligan. Oh, Chris is going to have to go to 5 here. Still hasn't seen a land. Brian's definitely going to keep. He has 2 Searing Blaze. There's no repeatable source of damage here. There's no creature. And his deck, more than normal burn decks, counts on having a creature in play. All right, Chris finally gets to keep a hand. Yeah, so double Searing Blaze is good, but Brian's going to need another land drop to turn on the second Blaze, which puts him in an awkward spot because he doesn't want another land. He wants spells. That's the worst feeling in Magic, when you need both a land and a spell for your hand to do everything you wanted to. Let's see how Brian wants to play this. Last game, he went face. He tried to ignore the Elves. Is this Lightning Bolt going to point at Mystic or point at Chris? All right, so he drew the 3rd land. The Searing Blaze is ready to go. This one and the next one. He doesn't have to choose face or elf on this one. It does them both. Or having a 3rd land, Chris mulling to 5 and having a 3rd actual land is really nice for him because he can start playing these Timberwatches. So 3, 6, 10. Brian has 10 points of burn in his hand. That 4th land is not what he wanted. He was hoping to not draw another land for the rest of the game. After that, he saw that 3rd one. So he can put Chris to 7 with what he's got right now. He has to draw at least 2 more spells, more likely 3, to get 7 more damage across. We're using a land drop, but not casting Searing Blaze is interesting. He's probably identified that there are bigger fish to fry. I'm not sure if I would have played my land there. Yeah, that's definitely a juicier target. Yuck. There's land number 5. Mono red doesn't want 4 lands. Definitely doesn't want 5. And Brian has no way to gain card advantage in his deck. Like the Thermo Alchemist and the Archer with the similar effect in normal burn decks, those are kind of card advantage, effectively card advantage, because you're getting more burn out of each card you do draw. But Brian's deck just has things that attack. It's like, imagine if his draw had Ghitu Lavarunner in it, and he was attacking for 2 on each of these turns, where instead he's not doing anything while CVM builds. Land number 6. I think we're done here, folks. There's going to be a few more turns to play because CVM's clock is kind of anemic, but a Lead the Stampede or Winding Way here is going to shut the nail. Also, funny enough, Brian can hardcast Fireblast next turn, so he's not even necessarily going to lose two mountains when he goes for that. So this Huntmaster is covered, kinda. All right, land number 7. Brian experiencing the classic mono red problem of, these are my cards, do I win? And currently the answer is no. Yep, 1 land in game 1, and then 7 lands so far in game 2. Let's make that 8. The number keeps climbing. Brian's going for the high score on basic mountains drawn. All right, Winding Way should shut the door here. Brian can play the Timberwatch Elf and the other Timberwatch Elf this turn. You can just jam them both on the stack. All right, he went for Huntmaster. All right, Searing Blaze, let's pay off. Let's make land number 8 count. Yeah, Spire Barrage would be bananas here. Adam Yurchik in the chat with that contribution. All right, so Chris effectively at 7. Yeah, he's just going to run away from here. Electrickery is covered from the Spidersilk Armor. Electrickery is not even good on this board because even without the Spidersilk Armor, Chris's 3 best things have 2 or more toughness. And it looks like that Concede box is coming up. I see it hovering over Brian's hand, and yep, that is the match. That was an absolute landslide. We will be back in a minute for Tron versus Actual Burn. This time, Chris will be the red deck, and let's see if he can draw an appropriate number of lands instead of the 2 versions that don't make your deck function, the 1-lander and the 8-lander.